AJ Green says, yes, Kirk needs to go. Most people just look at his stats and not his cap hit. Get something out of this dude before his contract up becomes a free agent. I 100% agree. The Vikings have got to look to trading away Kirk Cousins. And I've said this many times. I mean, it's looking unlikely. It is. It's looking unlikely that Kevin O'Connell came into this organization and he already likes Kirk. He already has an established relationship with Kirk and he's excited to coach Kirk. However, with that being said, you get up a trade offer. Let's say the Carolina Panthers, because we know they're interested. You get a trade offer from the Carolina Panthers. They offer you a first, a third, and Sam Darnold. Is Kwesi going to turn that down in a million years? No. You don't turn down a trade offer like that. You take that in a heartbeat, especially where the Panthers are sitting in the first round. Now, I don't actually know if the Panthers have a third round draft pick. I might have to relook at that. But still, somewhere in the future, I know the Panthers are suffering when it comes to their draft picks. I'm going to pull up the Panthers 2022 draft picks real quick. The Panthers in 2022, okay, they picked 6th overall. I highly doubt that they would ever give that up. They don't have a third round draft pick. So maybe third round in a year after that, maybe 2023 draft or something like that. They pick 6th overall and then don't pick till the 4th round. So there is no chance the Panthers are going to give up their 6th overall draft pick for Kirk Cousins. Actually, you know what? They might, because Matt Rule, it's very unlikely, but Matt Rule has one more shot to prove a year for him to be a head coach. He doesn't care about the future for the team. He doesn't. Why? Because he's not going to be a part of the future for the Carolina Panthers. If he trades a 6th overall draft pick for Kirk Cousins, how are you ever in a million years going to turn that down? Ever. Ever. And Panthers, I highly doubt they're going to give up their 6th overall draft pick. Why? Because if the Panthers give up their 6th overall draft pick, they're not picking until the 4th round. I doubt that's going to happen. I really doubt that's going to happen. AJ Green says they would give up our 6th round draft pick if we took Darnold's contract as well. You know, that is possible. It is possible. If we pull up Sam Darnold over the cap, if we pull up his contract real quick, we can see if we're able to pay that. Okay, so he's only signed for one more year of, wow. That's a lot of money. So he signed 20 million, no, 19 million. And when you average it up, 19 million next year. So I guess that's not ridiculous amount of money, but still, it's just under one more year, and they're not going to cut him because that would set him a lot against the cap. So, Vikings, I've mentioned many times on this show, I've said that I don't want the Vikings to throw band-aids at the quarterback position anymore. What I mean by that is I don't want to see players to come in and just like not drafting quarterbacks and instead just grabbing quarterbacks off the streets, taking them. And I'm fine with that for one more year. A Sam Darnold is a band-aid of a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo, band-aid of a quarterback. Marcus Mariota, now Mariota has never had a real shot, but again, I just don't see the franchise guy in him yet. Another band-aid of a quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater has been that his entire career. These are basically band-aids of quarterbacks that you keep slapping on for the Vikings, and yet you miss on potential Hall of Fame guys, potential future star franchise players that can be your quarterback for the next decade. One of those players, Malik Willis. Kenny Pickett. These are a few names to mention that the Vikings can actually get at the 12th overall pick. It's going to really depend on the combine coming up. Again, you just don't know. You really don't know. It is such a gamble when it comes to these quarterbacks right now, because you look at this class, it's not too bright. It's looking a lot like the 2014 draft class. But again, on top of that, 2014 draft class, there was a gem named Derek Carr that was taken in the 2nd round. I believe the same thing is going to happen in this draft class, where there's not going to be a Hall of Famer. I really don't think it's going to happen. Now, yes, this is just a prediction made in February of 2022. We don't know yet. But again, I just don't think that any of these players are going to be Hall of Fame guys. However, there can be a franchise underrated player like the 2014 draft class, where we saw Derek Carr come into the 2nd round and outperform all quarterbacks in the 1st round and outperformed majority of quarterbacks. We also saw Jimmy Garoppolo drafted in that class. So I believe there's going to be a gem in the mix, and the Vikings will be able to get one, maybe 2nd round. Maybe we can see someone fall to us in the 1st round. It's really going to depend on the combine. And anyone who says right now that they know what's going to happen in the draft is out of their mind. I would like to see the Vikings to take a quarterback in the 1st round. Don't think it's going to happen with how many needs we have. As of right now, see, here's the thing. I want to tell you guys real quick. When you come into when you're a new GM like Kwesi, when you're a new head coach like Kevin O'Connell, Your first thing you need to do is hit on that first draft pick because this is kind of your entry. This is still part of your prove it. This is still where you have to prove yourselves because this is a GM who's never been a GM ever in history. This is a head coach who's never been a head coach before. Meaning their press conference might be great, they might look good, they might be qualified for the job, but they haven't proved anything yet. We have no clue how they're going to look. Their first thing to prove themselves is how they're going to draft in the first draft pick that they have. You have to hit on your first draft pick. Ask any head coach who's ever been a head coach. Ask any GM who's ever been a GM. They will tell you that the first draft pick is their entryway. That's how they get entered. That's how they start being a great head coach. That's how their career starts. And you'll see this many times where quarterbacks and GMs in their first draft pick that they ever have will be a very, how would you say this? A very non-risky draft pick is what I'm saying here. A draft pick that is almost certain going to work. Like Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith, for example, he was drafted in the first round. Everyone knew he was going to be a good safety. I mean, you look at the safety in the first round that's going to be drafted this year. I mean, everyone knows he's going to be a good safety. Is he going to be taken top 10? Who knows? We see safeties fall a lot. Why? Because they're not as valuable of a position. Look at Derwin James. Derwin James has been the best safety prospect I have ever seen in my life coming out of college. Jamal Adams too. Both safeties didn't impact their team a whole lot. They were drafted pretty high, but they didn't impact their team a whole lot. Yeah, they've had great careers up to this point, but at the same time, it's not like they're as impactful on the field as a lockdown corner might be, or as a quarterback would be, or as a stud pass rusher would be, or even an amazing, outstanding wide receiver. You have to hit on your first overall draft pick or your first round draft pick. And if you take a player like Malik Willis, if you take a player like Kenny Pickett, that is a bad start to your career. Now, again, we don't know yet. We don't know because we haven't seen the combine. We haven't seen what these players are able to do outside of their performance in college. We've seen them practice. I mean, Malik Willis's practice, everyone saw him practice, and apparently his draft stock has rose a lot. But you know who also did 1 year ago today? Justin Fields. Everyone was talking about Justin Fields potentially being a first overall draft pick because of his practice that we saw him have. And then he kind of fell off a little bit when you're getting closer to the draft, and still had an okay rookie season. I'm not going to say he's been a buzz, but still, I'm kind of glad the Vikings didn't trade up to draft Justin Fields with how risky of a decision that would have been, even though they tried to. And I'm not against the Vikings taking a quarterback. As a matter of fact, I would really like the Vikings to take a quarterback. I'm just saying that I don't think it's going to happen. I'm saying that I think it's very unlikely